Ooh, that looks tasty.
Welcome folks, Today the Hungry Gamer is back with another con recap, and today we're talking about DundraCon 2024. And DundraCon is a smaller convention that is local to me here in the San Francisco Bay Area, and it's one that I've gone to just almost as long as I've gone to conventions. This is one that I have gone to. And the first part of this I'm going to say is a little bit of a repeat of what I often say. It's a really fun, small convention. It's all volunteers, and they're all trying really hard, and they're all lovely people, and they're kind, and they're helpful, and it's just a really good, small convention. That's the core of the message here. If you are local to the San Jose, San Francisco area, you should go to this convention. It's just a really good time. It's a nice hotel. They've done a good job of, if you're not staying at the hotel, of it being cheap to park there, because it's a hotel. That's how they do. And the only complaint, I'm gonna start with my complaint. The only complaint I have is the hotel itself. Now, don't get me wrong. Please never move it, because it's a 10-minute drive for me. But the hotel itself is an odd shape. So some of the stuff is on the other end of the hotel, and you have this weird long stretch in between that's not really a gaming areas. I mean, it kind of is, people use it, but it's kind of a weird thing. But beyond that, it is such a good convention. It is so well run. It is so fun. I love it. It has a small-ish dealer hall where you can get stuff, but there's stuff for everyone for a small convention. And I'm going to say this, I've been to several small conventions. For a smaller convention, it's a great dealer hall. And every year, it's a really delightful dealer run. And I bought some stuff this year. They got me. They got me. I'm mad at you, Aldo. Aldo on the board of Gamma. You got me. I bought a game, and I didn't want to buy anything this year, but I did. They have a great flea market at the end. They have a really strong RPG area. I don't play RPGs much at conventions anymore, but some of Original Don's family, they do play RPGs, and they had a really good time. There really is something for everyone, and it truly is a top-tier small convention. That's all I can say about it. Now, what I'm actually going to spend most of this video talking about is the games that I played. And I've ranked them, because everyone loves a ranking. But I will say that, legitimately, I like every single game that I played. And I would play every single game that I played at the convention again. And this was a little bit of a different convention for me, because usually I spend a lot of time in the Protospiel room. That's where you playtest upcoming games. But I've just done so many videos lately and learned so many games lately. I just didn't want to learn new games. So pretty much every game that I played was a game that I had played before, with the exception of one game, which was a prototype that I took and I played. I only played that on the last day. So, before I start with the ranking, I just want to say that I legitimately like all of these games. And my ranking for these games is not based on what game I think is the best, rather, how much fun did I have playing the game. So, with that said, I'm going to jump in at number 15. Number 15 is a game called Parade. This is a kind of an Alice in Wonderland themed game. It's not trick-taking, but if I had to pick a mechanic, it's closest to trick-taking, kind of. You have this tableau of cards going on. Whatever card you place down, you get to ignore the number of cards to the right of it. But you're going to wind up taking any cards past whatever that number is that are of a lower number or the same suit, and those are going to wind up being points for you at the end of the game, and points are bad. And I had a good time with it. If you're into that kind of game, it's a very small box, and it is a clever little game, and I enjoyed it. Moving to number 14. Number 14 is Root. And Root is a game that I have played a lot. And despite my better judgment, I like Root. I don't like this type of game. I tend to not like highly competitive games, but it's a really fun game. And part of it is the art of it that Leader Games has. It's so cute. And at the same time, it is so aggressive. It's just a delightful and brilliantly crafted game. And the reason this comes in at 14 is, and to be clear, I actually had a lot of fun playing. I was playing the lizards, and I loved the lizards, but we had several players that had not played before. Myself and Streamline Matt, who have played, and the guy who had the game, who's played a ton. And the guy who played the game a ton just wiped the floor with everybody. And that's a little bit on me and Streamline Matt, because we didn't pick factions that would work well with first-time players. Because the first-time players, like, they really worked hard. Now, I mean, I got second to last, I think. They really busted themselves, but they didn't fully grasp Root. And because of that, the fact that I was the lizards, that meant that if other players don't interact with the lizards, they suck. Now, that said, I had so much fun playing the lizards, and the flavor that I was able to put out there. I had a blast. I had a great time. But when you're playing Root and you have people who have played before, you need to play with people who have played before, or really dumb down your strategy for the people who haven't played before. And so it was a great time. I had a blast, and I'm thrilled I played it. But comes at the bottom because it was just a butt kicking, just a total butt kicking, and there's nothing I could do about it. Number 13 is Expeditions. This was my number 4, I think, game of the year this year, and I still love the game. And the only reason it comes in as low as it does is the other 2 players that were playing, I just had the vibe they weren't enjoying it. And that makes sense because this is a very much multiplayer solitaire game with a tiny bit of like blocking going on. And I just don't think it was their vibe. And because of that, I felt bad. And so this is kind of a me problem in that when I bring a game, if other players aren't enjoying it, I really feel bad because I'm like, oh, I've asked you to take 2 hours or 90 minutes or whatever your time for something you're not going to like. And so I just picked a poor game for them. I really like Expeditions. I really like Expeditions. But because of that, it comes in at 13. I mean, it's a great game. But with my rules of this video, it comes in at 13. Number 12 is Furnace. And I like Furnace a lot. It came in as my number 6 game of the year 2 years ago, and it was one of my Expansion of the Year nominees this year. But we played without the expansion, so as I said in my video when I talked about Game of the Year, I don't really want to play Furnace without the expansion. And we played without the expansion. That's why that comes in where it is. But lovely people enjoyed it. Number 11 is Buru. And Buru is a game that I backed. I actually previewed it, but then I actually also backed it. And it's a very light Euro game with a lot of bidding going on. It's a lot about planning ahead. It's almost a programmer. Not quite, but it's almost a programmer. And I want to be clear here. I think this is one of the best light Euros that I own. And to be clear, it's a very light Euro. I would argue you have to play with the Ambelau expansion. But this is a beautiful game. It's super light. It's a 45-minute game. If some people don't know how to play, I think. Maybe an hour. But it took us an hour and a half or an hour and 40 minutes to play, not counting the teaching of the game. And that just came down to some of the players at the table. And this is not a personal judgment on them, but for me, there was a player that just had extreme analysis paralysis and just had a hard time grasping some of the concepts. And that's probably on me for doing a poor job explaining it, but it just took probably twice as long as the game should have. And so because of that, it winds up number 11. But I just want to say again, it's a fantastic production. It's a really fun game. I am so happy that I bought this game. So, Buru number 11. Number 10 is Summoner Wars. And Summoner Wars is probably going to be my most played game of the year. I've played it so much already. It's insane. Now, they were kind enough to send me a review copy, and I've already spent a ton of money on additional stuff for Summoner Wars. It is such a good two-player game. When I made my review video, which actually I haven't posted, I said I'm not sure if it's in my top 5 two-player head-to-head games. I'm going to find out. I'm going to say right now, it's in my top 5 two-player head-to-head games. It is an amazing game. It's a dangerous game because you're going to spend a lot of money on it, but it is so good. And so it comes at number 10 only because I only got to play it one time. I feel like it's best if you play multiple times. I was teaching somebody. Because I was teaching somebody, I picked a faction I had never played. And I played it in a way that seemed suboptimal to me. And so that made it a more challenging play because I was kind of going against my initial instincts. But it was great. It was fantastic. What a delightful time. Number 9 on the list is Dragon Bond Lords of Vala. And this is another game that I have a review that hasn't posted yet. This is a 1 to 4 player game where 2 players are dragons, 2 players are these wizards, these sorcerers, and you're trying to gain 10 power, which is kind of an area control, troops on a map style game, but not really. It's also kind of a programming game. It's this weird mesh of different mechanics that comes together, and it comes together so well. It is such a fascinating, fast game. I had a blast with this game. It is an area control troops on a map game in 90 minutes. And it's just so cool. And the way the main mechanic of how if a dragon and a sorcerer ever wind up in the same location, they might instantly become allies. It's just so cool. It is such a fascinating game. I really, really enjoyed it. That's number 9. Number 8 is Castles of Burgundy. And Castles of Burgundy is a game that I have played, I don't know, 20, 30, maybe more times on Board Game Arena, but never played in Meat Space. And Original Don loves the game, and he brought his real fancy copy that he got, and finally got to play in person. And it's amazing how I did not know how to play the game. There was constantly, so I was like, wait, why is that happening? And both Skippy and Don would explain the game, what was happening. I was like, oh, that's why that happened. Because Board Game Arena does that for you. And so suddenly I was learning how to play the game better, and I had my best score ever. I still got last. But there's a reason this game is a classic, and I had a great time playing. I'm really glad that I played it. Castles of Burgundy, number 8. Number 7 is Eos, Island of Angels. And I did a solo video of this, solo playthrough of this recently. And I said that I was looking forward to playing it multiplayer again, because I did a preview of it. But they've made significant changes since I did that preview. And so I'm actually going to have a mini review coming up sometime relatively soon. And this is a highly asymmetric, multiplayer solitaire kind of adventure game. You're moving around the map and you're fighting these demons and you're waking up these angels and you're gathering resources. And it's just a very hard game to explain. But I really like it. Like, I enjoyed it when I had the prototype, and then Lance at Gray Fox Games was kind enough to send me a production copy. And man, I really like it. When I played solo, I was like, it's not a solo game. It has a solo mode, but it's not a solo game. But it's a game that I just really want to play again. It's so clever and it's so unique. And so I really, really enjoyed it. In fact, what brought it down a bit is there was people playing next to us, other games that were just, and I'm going to sound like such a jerk for saying this, so elitist, but they were obnoxious. The noise that they were making constantly was obnoxious. And so that actually brought it down a bit for me. Number 6 on the list is Vast Mysterious Manor. This is a game that I try to play at every local con. I've painted my entire collection. This is one of my favorite games ever made. It is super fragile. Everyone needs to understand how to play, but I love it. I love every second of playing this game, and I'm back on my winning ways. I've now won 2 of my last plays. In fact, I've only lost this game once, but it's just so fun, and I obliterated the table. I mean, crushed the table with the Warlock, and I have no remorse. I love Vast Mysterious Manor. I adore it. It will never leave my shelf. I had a great time playing it. Now, number 5 on the list is The Reckoners. And The Reckoners is a crisis management game based on the Reckoners book series by Brandon Sanderson, who's probably my favorite author. I really like this series. It's kind of reminiscent of The Boys, if you know that Amazon TV series. And it's a Yahtzee-style dice game, and you're trying to stop Steelheart, the like evil Superman, for doing stuff and figure out his weakness and deal with his minions. And it's just a really good crisis management game. I'm so happy I got it back to the table. I had a great time. I love the Reckoners. Number 4 on the list is another crisis management game, and that is Tesseract. And that's a relatively new one from Smirk and Dagger. And ostensibly, you have this cube of dice that you are trying to deal with and contain. You're putting that on another board. So you're manipulating dice, and you're moving them around and taking them off the board. And every time an entire column of dice is removed, bad things happen. And I don't have better words for it other than to say it's a very fun game. And it has the most ridiculous deluxe upgrade possible. You could have gotten every single die in metal. And if you did that, like just the dice were 2/3 were twice the cost of the original game. I don't have that. I kind of wish I had that, but I don't have that. It's just a really good game, and it's one that I'm really looking forward to playing a lot more of. It is a really strong crisis management game. Really enjoy Tesseract at number 4. Number 3 is all the rage right now. That is Last Light, also from Gray Fox Games. And this is billed as a 4X game in 1 hour. And so I'm like, okay, let's find out. And so I volunteered to host an 8-player game of Last Light. And I said, I want people who know the rules. Because I was like, can we do this in an hour? And so we wound up with only 7 people. We had 2 no-shows, but one person kind of at the end said, oh, can I jump in and play? And they'd played the game before. And one person had never played. And so we taught them and we started the game. And we did a 7-player game in 1 hour and 20 minutes. A 7-player 4X game in 1 hour and 20 minutes. Unbelievable. That right there tells you that this game has so much going for it. Like, that, if you are a 4X fan, that right there tells you that this is a game you need to have on your shelf, because 4X games are not usually short. Now, is it a perfect 4X game? No, I mean, the Explore X of it is kind of the small X of the game, but it's a very clever game with some fantastic toy factor with this rotating board that's going on. And I really had a great time with it. It truly was a lot of fun. It comes at number 3. Number 2 is another 4X game, and that is Fractal Beyond the Void. And maybe Uprising is up there for me as a comparable 4X game, but Uprising is fantasy and all co-op. Fractal Beyond the Void is just a special 4X game. It does competitive amazingly well. And this time we played a cooperative game because I just really wanted to try it. And Skippy, designer of Lunar Rush, was there. He wanted to try it too, but I didn't want to do a competitive game because Streamline Matt and I would just obliterate him. And it was great. I'm going to stop there. It was fantastic. What a delightful, fun game. That brings me to number 1. And the number 1 game of the con was the only prototype that I played. And I brought it with, and that is Lightspeed Arena. This is a game that was originally published in like 2003. And basically you spend 3 minutes and you throw down your ships and they have lasers coming off them. They're blasting each other. And you figure out the end what they blast. You get points for it. But the new version, which is coming to Kickstarter soon, has an app. And you take a picture of the table after your 3 minutes and it processes and then it shows you the lasers blasting everything and tells you who wins. So instead of a 30-minute game where you have 27 minutes of calculations, you have a 5-minute game. Y'all, we played it literally 8 or 10 times today. And 3 people jokingly asked if they could take it with them, but if I wasn't looking, would have taken the game with them. Y'all, this is probably the best real-time game I've ever played. Maybe Kushi Express is right there. It's awesome. It's coming to Kickstarter soon. I have a video coming soon. It is one of the most delightful things I have ever played. So, there you have it, folks. That is DundraCon 2024. I'll be going back next year. I'm thrilled that they were kind enough to give me a press pass. It's how local, small conventions should be done. Come on out to the Bay Area next year, y'all. Play, come join, have a good time. It's just a delight. So, there you have it, folks. That is DundraCon 2024. As always, if you found this video useful, please like, subscribe, share, maybe become a channel member. As always, thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.